I hope so. And yeah, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm John Miglash for the WDMA, and we're going to be talking about organized crime, but also the ANA response report, which you've all been waiting for. And also, maybe we'll get to Craig Huey. I'm not sure if we will or not. That'll be an interesting question. So let's dig in. Right now, this is a video that popped up on my YouTube. I talked with Jim Hale yesterday about or was it Jim Hale? No? I'll put the show notes down there about who I was talking with, for rather than botch his name up. A new friend. And he said that the YouTube algorithm is much like the old Amazon algorithm, which basically keeps track of people who watch one video that you watched. What else did they watch? And then it pops those up. And it doesn't care if they're related or not, doesn't care if you like their choices or not. But they seem to do pretty well by my book. And this popped up, and so I watched it. And it says Home Depot is taking extreme measures to deal with tool thieves. And so I thought I would play it. This is DIY with Dave.
Tell me what you guys think. Is this overkill in your view? Would a setup like this deter you from actually buying something from them? Leave me a comment and let me know. Now, I also noticed a few other things while I was there. Now, I'm sure that they've always had cameras, but it seems like they're being much more conspicuously placed. Like, they really want you to know that you're being watched. And so I'm sure that's part of the deterrent. So just to recap, we've got a whole new store layout.
Okay, and what he was talking about is that this area where the tools are is enclosed. And so there's only one entrance or exit. And you have to pay for the tools before you leave the tool section. Okay, and that was, I don't remember if it was Walmart or Kmart or somebody had the same idea with the electronics many years ago, where you'd pay in the back. I think they also had it in the firearms section, that you'd buy your ammunition back at the back of the store, and then that way you weren't carrying ammunition around the store, which would maybe scare people or something. And so that's, none of this is new. In fact, that goes back to the when the original Piggly Wiggly started, it was one of the first retailers to let customers wander around in the merchandise. Before that, you'd come to the counter and they'd ask what you wanted, and then they would go get it for you. That's the way the Parts Hut, the automotive parts store in my town, works. They go looking for it for you, and so that's not. It's actually predates this idea of wandering around on your own for merchandise. But that's one of the changes at Home Depot.
With only one way in or out of the tool section, we have tools and other items locked up. We've got cameras all over the place, carts that stop moving, and even an armed guard. Now, I would be very interested to see what their shoplifting numbers are like now because of all of these new approaches.
Okay, so anyway, then he said that he was just in one of the newest Home Depots, and it was a smaller number of square feet, probably because, they got their big stores in the big markets, and they're probably extending out into smaller markets where they're experimenting with a smaller store. But anyway, let's go over to an article I saw from Fortune yesterday, I think it was. Let's see if I can get that to come up. Organized crime has come for Home Depot, and there was just stories all over the internet, mainly starting in 2021. In this case, 3 people were systematically going to 25 different incidents in 11 South and Central Florida counties, and they would check out. They would walk out with a high quality roof sealer and scan a pre-mixed patch and level kit, which was $40. It was like 1/10 the price, but in similar buckets. So they're not just walking out the door with it. They're going through the checkout, but paying for a significantly lower price. And I understand that's a thing, okay, a normal, regular thing that people have to look for. it says that this isn't their first run in with organized theft. A particular guy, Robert Dell, stole $1.4 million of goods from Home Depot stores and resold the products on eBay. So, according to National Retail Foundation, retailers actually reported $112 billion in losses, right? And in the ANA response report, it sounded like the entire direct mail industry is only 40 billion, just to put it in perspective. And that's one of the top 5 media channels in America at 40 billion. And so this is a big deal, right? Home Depot CFO Richard McPhail says that Home Depot's gross margin was 33%, a decrease of 8 basis points from the year before. I'm not sure what a basis point is. I think a basis point is like a tenth of a percent, which isn't that much. You know, I say I speak CFO, but I know basis points are are smaller than a percent. I think they're smaller than a percentage. I think they're tenths of a percent. In which case, this wouldn't be a big deal. It wouldn't be as big a deal as it makes it sound. But ultimately, you, the consumer, pay for shrinkage, right? Ultimately, Home Depot is either got to put up barriers to your shopping experience, or they have to charge more and let it happen. And the problem with letting it happen is that it can multiply, and that's the biggest problem that they're talking about right now. So I'm interested in your thoughts. I'll turn on the chat window so that you can comment in the middle of this and distract me. But let's get over to the ANA response report. Okay, that would be wonderful. Here we go. And I apologize. Yesterday, David Foley commented, and I didn't see it until after the show. So he was replying to my "What's the worst sports experience?" Apparently, he threw a ball through the head mistress's window. Anyway, and I said, "What was her window doing on the pitch?" Anyway, so here's the response report. Never has marketing industry undergone such tremendous change in such a short period of time. Okay. The direct marketing industry is projected at, it's not 40 billion, it's only 30 billion. And like I said, it's still one of the top 4 channels, and 31 billion in 2025. Okay. And the 2021 and 2022 reports have been among the most downloaded reports at the ANA. I thought Lisa Smith sent me this. You know, I thought this was one of these $300 reports that I would have to pay for, and she just sent it to me so that I could review it. But it may be that this is available to all of you. And so I will have my marked up chapter, but it'll only be the direct marketing section. I'm not going to just offer you the full report. Go to the ANA for that, right? And or talk to Lisa Smith. I think she wrote this entire thing. I'm not sure though, but I'll mention her because she's a very big helper. Okay, so here's the overall. Here's the chapter 6, which is where we're going right now. Click on this bookmark, and here we are, right into chapter 6. Isn't that amazing? You know, I know how to run some of this equipment, right? Okay, so here are the highlights. Due to the very small number of responses. Now, that's an interesting thing right off the bat. So, you know, it is hard because the DMA, you know, went from the Direct Mail Marketing Association, back when I first joined it in 1981 or 2, to the Direct Marketing Association, and then defined direct marketing as anybody who could be measuring any kind of response. And they wanted it to be a big tent. They wanted everybody to think about direct marketing. But in the end, what it meant was that everybody thought it already applied to them, and they didn't need any more. They didn't need to elevate their game any. And so then, of course, they changed it to the Data and Marketing Association. They got rid of the direct. And then they went under, and the ANA bought them. And God bless Lisa for keeping this going. She does an excellent job of recruiting genuine direct mail experts in her get-togethers and such. Okay. Oh, back to the Home Depot. I especially want to hear what Deanne Campbell has to say because she's a regular commenter. So I have to mention her, and and she always has some good stuff to say. And in fact, has pointed out in the past on the shoplifting side that only about a third of their shrinkage is walking out the front door of the retail store. Another third is walking out the back door with the employees, and another third is in the supply chain. And that's pretty well documented, though we focus on the mitigation at the retail level because that affects us the most directly. Okay, so more summary. There weren't very many responses, but the Direct Mail Marketing Association has long been gone. Okay, 82% are using online tracking that leverages QR codes, specific URLs, or another online tracking mechanism. And I've been working hard to get printers to understand some of this technology along, and so has Direct Mail 2.0 has dramatically made that much more easy. And they're a WDMA supporter. I was a little surprised. We'll get to that in a minute. But it's up from 67% last year. And again, because the sample sizes are small, it has more to do with who participates probably than real change in the marketplace. We've been using tracking codes and key codes and juicy magic markers for, decades and decades, maybe 150 years. The top purpose of direct mail is for respondents to make a direct sale. And that one was a surprise to me because I know that most of the stuff I get here is to generate leads, okay, to get you to a website or get you to look into their product more, that's really most of it. More than half use a mix of house and prospects for their campaign, which is, I think, healthy. I think, 10 years ago, there was a big shift to digital and people thought they could prospect, but I think we've pounded the drum enough that those prospects that you convert with digital may not be nearly as valuable as the prospects that you acquire through mail. I saw consistently in a couple of different studies that I ran that the digital conversions, the digitally acquired customers were worth about 25% of the direct mail acquired customers. And so that suggests that there's a place, if you want long-term better customers, you may want to use mail. And now I see it more in balance. Let's go down into the real graphs. Here's their online tracking. Most of the catalog companies and retailers that I've worked with lean very heavily on matchback. If someone does turn in a coupon code or does turn in a tracking code, we usually, concede that that's probably from that mailing, but a lot of the media isn't tracked, and so we will use matchback. We also track back in retail more often to the credit card use and to see if that customer is actually new or actually matches a previous customer. Okay, and you can use that to match them back to the original mailing. Response rate is one of the top metrics. That can be really confusing though, because some lead generation articles that I review, they call the response to a mailer that's designed to get them to a website or get them to inquire over the phone or something. They call that a response. I would call that a lead generation. Well, it is a response. But I wouldn't track, I usually regard response rate as sale. And that's maybe because I'm an old school cataloger. Return on investment too often is return on ad spend. And so that one I also am always suspicious about. Almost nobody takes it to profit per piece or response or EBITDA, bottom line profit. Okay, cost per response is a lot like, and cost per thousand could be, because in prospecting you usually don't make a profit. That means cost per piece can be offset by the revenue per ad spend, and then you get a net number. The cost per thousand wouldn't be very interesting unless you had multiple formats or were comparing mail against other media. Okay, the primary purpose here is to make a direct sale. As I said, that's a little surprising because I thought lead generation, with financial and travel being two of the big categories lately, they're not booking the travel on that first contact. Drive to traffic to retail locations is pretty small. That really should be bigger. Communicate with customers. I think that the e-commerce people could be using mail a lot more. And I had a talk with Jim Hale yesterday. Long talk about some of these trends. And here's that mix of house and prospect. This was interesting. The formats for house lists, 76% were sending a postcard. That seems to be really, it's probably a mistake. You probably want to give your customers a more elevated cost per piece, like a catalog, if you have multiple items. Or explain what you're doing, build your brand with a letter envelope. I think prospecting with or house file with a postcard seems like, but maybe if you're just, maybe your prospects are, or maybe your customers for like HVAC aren't in the market very often, when the season change or something like that. Okay, but in prospecting, the letter is the envelope is the biggest, and postcard a close second. But catalog is still doing well in that category. And so there you go. And I think that's about the rest of it. I didn't understand some of these metrics. I would have liked a little bit of a, since there's plenty of room on the page, a little explanation of exactly what that means. And finally, they finish off with who's using AI, and it doesn't sound like anybody. We're planning to use it. We're considering it. We don't plan. We don't know. Okay, so we still have a bit of time to go on that AI. Have a great day. Like and share. The Chapter 6 will be available on the WDMA, and feel free to comment on that shoplifting. I'm really interested in that. And so off we go.